I'm Caroline Cummings, Executive Director of Oregon RAIN. It's wonderful to see all your beautiful faces, and I'm really excited to be the instructor for you guys today. We have a lot of exciting things in store for you today, and I'm actually going to just go ahead and just jump right in. And remember, if you guys have questions, please use the chat or the raise hand feature. We've got a lot of support, my team, mentors who are here today to support you. All right. So it's week 3. First of all, congrats for making it to week 3. If we actually remove the final session, which is where you're going to pitch, which I'm not saying we're removing it, but that means you're a third of the way through. So that's pretty awesome. So well done for that. I know a lot of you have been working hard on homework. You've been attending mentor hours, and that's really how you're going to get the most out of this program, is not necessarily these sessions. This is meant to give you little bits and bites, and then it's the follow-up with the mentors and the cohort facilitators where you're really going to get a lot of the value out of this. So in case you haven't already, I just want to remind you to please rename yourself, not just with your name, but put your cohort number in front of it. Again, this is going to help Corey and Raj get you assigned to your breakout sessions a little bit later. If you forget the cohort number, hopefully you don't forget who your cohort facilitator is. So here's who they are. Ariel's 1, Corey and I are 2, Raj is 3, Laura's 4, and Stephanie is 5. I also want to remind any of the Spanish-speaking entrepreneurs that we have. Anna on our team is incredible. Please feel free to type in the chat in Spanish, and we're going to be putting some separate sessions together as well in Spanish for you. So welcome. The agenda today, we're switching things up just slightly based on feedback. So that's why it's really good that you guys are sharing information with us, what's working, what isn't working, what recommendations you have, so that we can all get the most out of this. We're still going to start off with little bits of intro like I'm doing now. Marty with Singing Dog Vanilla is going to take about 5 minutes and sort of revisit the personas and share his personas for his company. We also, fortunately, got Jill Nelson with Ruby Receptionists and Elevate Capital to answer all of the questions that you guys posted in the chats. She's incredible. She took time to do that. And we do have them in a Google Doc, but there's 3 that I wanted to feature for you because they seem to be the most interesting. And then I'm going to be your featured speaker today, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll have time for questions and answers. And then we're going to put you into the breakout sessions, because what you guys were telling us is that the speakers would talk and it was great, and we didn't get to answer all the questions, and you really wanted to dive in and have a dialogue. So that's why we moved the breakout sessions towards the end of the session, so we can have a more lively conversation that's more based on the current topic. And then we'll bring you back and we'll talk about what's next. The other cool thing that we want to do, because this is about sales and marketing, we want to promote you. And Ariel leads our social media for us, and what she's going to be doing is posting your photos, your logos, your websites, your Facebooks, whatever it is that you have, products, services, those kinds of things, between now and the end of the session. So if for any reason you don't want to be promoted, like for example, I know there's a few of you actually not wanting sales right now, you're trying to recalibrate and learn new skills, but you can't have more traffic right now. So please let Ariel know, and we'll make sure to not do that. So we're excited to promote all of you. And a few questions that Jill answered. One of them was, what are your early marketing strategies? And so in the beginning, she did pretty much the old school direct mail, and that really worked well for them. They did pay-per-click campaigns. They're still doing that in search engine optimization. And then they held a lot of in-person events, and we realized that's more difficult to do today, but that's what she did in the early days. And some of the tips she wanted to make sure that you all had was she really emphasized that it's important that your messaging, whatever messaging you're sending out, whether it's you're doing a webinar, whether you're attending an expo, whether you're talking to a potential customer on the street, make sure your messaging speaks directly to the pain point that you're solving for that customer. And then you want to go where your customers are, whether that's on or offline, and leverage your evangelists. So what would be cool is if you guys, raise your hand, do the little raise hand feature. If you actually have evangelists, these are people who love your business. They love you. They promote you. They talk about you to everybody. and everywhere, it would be really cool to know who has some evangelists. And you don't need a lot. You only need a few to really make a difference. And then make sure it's as simple as possible to sign up or purchase your products or services. We're going to be talking a little bit about that as we move into the program, into the further weeks, because you want to reduce friction and then deliver on that brand promise. And one way to figure that out is to actually ask your customers if you're doing that. We also asked her, what does it cost to acquire a customer? And for, this is basically customer acquisition costs, and it's different for everybody. And for some industries, it can be really difficult to calculate. But for her, she says $600 is the point, right? If they spend any more than $600, then they're not going to be profitable. It's that point where they try and keep the cost of acquiring a customer under the $600 mark. So it's really important to know that. And then we asked, how many customers are you asked? How many customer personas do you have? So she currently has 4 completed personas. And then if you remember, she talked about 5 different industries that she's targeting in this order: legal, finance, real estate, home services, and medical. And she wanted you to also know that the messaging she does for each industry segment or each market is different. The way she talks to lawyers is different than the way she talks to realtors and different than the way she talks to physicians. So that's an important piece as well. And I'm excited that Marty is back with us today, CEO and founder of Singing Dog Vanilla. And they do a lot with personas. And I'm going to hand it over to Marty to just for a couple of minutes and talk about what they're doing. So Marty?
Okay, thanks. So after the talk last week, I sent Caroline and the gang one of our personas. And it's something that I often am asked to speak about as well, because we use it as the core of our business. I mean, that's what our business is built upon, are these customer personas. We don't advertise, we don't coupon, we don't discount, we don't give free product to stores, any of these normal things that people do. We just don't do them. And we communicate directly with our farmers that grow our vanilla, but more importantly, we connect directly with all of our customers, whether they be bakers or chefs at Bellagio or Ritz-Carlton, or we try our best with the home user as well. And what we've discovered is, and this is what I kind of want to point out, this whole session, this whole series of classes can basically be broken down into Marketing 101 and Marketing 102. Marketing 101 says, who are our customers? And Marketing 102 says, okay, how do we get more just like them? And so for Marketing 101, I would suggest that these personas, regardless of how you put them together, I know Jill and I'm sorry, the other person, the name I had in my head a moment ago, but they gave you different templates of how to do this. You can switch to the next one here, Caroline, but we do it in form of like a story, like the person is introducing themselves. And these are put together not at once, but this will be kind of broken up because we put together over years of conversations with our particular customers. And I want to give you an example, and I'm just going to kind of pull this out. This particular one here is for ice cream scoop shops for vanilla. And what we discovered is scoop shops for vanilla, for ice cream scoop shops that we sell vanilla to. They're different based on the region. Like in the Northeast, they tend to be people that have Italian ancestry and they're opening gelato shops. In Hawaii, they tend to be Korean ancestry and have a lot of family money that comes in, so they're not looking for banking. The value propositions we give to them are different. And these personas, if you make these a core, it'll drive almost everything in your business and everything we start to talk about, from like what Caroline is going to talk about today's lessons about who are your customers and how to use them for predictive revenue models. It'll drive, when we do digital marketing, what words customers are using and why they're buying your product, and how you can really narrow down on a narrow niche and discover that your market is not just one big market, but it's probably hundreds of almost said mini marts, but mini markets. So for example, I hope nobody in here is in the toothpaste business, but I'm trying to pick something that nobody does. But if you think about it, no one wakes up in the morning with a passion to buy toothpaste. No one says, great, I'm going to buy toothpaste today. They wake up with a passion for something, whether it be whiter teeth, they want fluoride or no fluoride. And when they want plastic containers or non-plastic containers, they want aggregate that's real pumice or not plastic aggregate. There are all these things that people, turns out, they're really passionate about. And those are those are decisions they make when they go in to buy toothpaste. Some are just based on price. And if you're in the toothpaste market, probably price is not where you want to compete. So you don't want to be in that slot. But if you know these people really well and you find out, it's like, okay, there aren't a bunch of people online arguing about toothpaste, except for maybe a couple orthodontists arguing about that fifth dentist holding out. But the rest of the people, you'll find there are people worried about gluten, there are people worried about sesame allergies or soy allergies. And you build these stories about these people, introducing them, and it'll drive everything else you do in your business. And I'm trying to think of a brilliant way to summarize this, but you really think about every time you are out shopping for something, or every time somebody calls you and offers something, every time you're buying something, thinking about the reason you're buying something. I wonder how many people realize that in my family, when we buy shampoo, the main driver of the shampoo is the shape of the bottle. So it quits falling off the lip of the bathtub and breaking my feet. So we buy them so they fit in the corner of the bathtub. Nobody's bothered to talk to me about that, but there are no triangle shaped shampoo bottles on the market that I can find. But you find some that are trapezoids, but you can find some. But if somebody were building a persona about me as a shampoo purchaser or my wife as a shampoo purchaser, that's what they would discover. And you'd find a niche that nobody else is satisfying.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marty. And I do want to know, who is that fifth dentist that is not recommending Crest? I want to know who he or she is and why.
I think it was Trident, actually. I started talking about toothpaste. I realized after I threw that out there, wait a minute, it was about chewing gum, right?
All right, or 4 out of 5 dentists, I think, recommend. Yeah,
Trident
or maybe
for
it is
patients
gum.
who chew
I don't
gum.
know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. Thank you,
I
Marty.
mixed it up, sorry.
No, it's really great. And I do think this is the next step. You take your persona. So once you identify who your persona is, it's really cool to come up with a narrative and a story about that person. It makes it more real and it brings it more to life. And I know that Palo Alto Software does this, and we have Peter Thorson as one of the mentors on today. And so in his group today, that's something that I'm sure he could talk about. So thanks, Marty.
If you know exactly who your customers are, you don't need to pay for advertising. You don't need to, you can find them on their groups. You know where they hang out, you know who they talk to, and a bigger percentage of them tend to be evangelists.
Very true. Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Okay, so a couple quick things on housekeeping. I know most of you know this already, but please join the open mentor hours, the office hours that we have. They're extremely engaging and we have good conversations. They're much smaller groups, so you can get more attention there. Many of you are using Slack to interact. Please keep doing that. Lots of you are also sharing resources with each other. Please keep doing that, because no one knows everything. And then the resource folder where you'll put the homework, we can show what that looks like again if anybody needs help with that. Here are the office hours. They're Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. And you all should have these in your calendar invites. If you don't, reach out to Raj and we'll make sure you get added to them. And then also a reminder, we are recording these main sessions, but not your conversations that you're having in the breakout rooms. So, as you've heard us say, we can't do this without our awesome sponsors. And we're really fortunate that we have one of them with us today, Banner Bank. And Rusty is an incredible person. She shows up at so many of our events that we do out in the Oak Ridge and Lowell area. And she's here today to tell you a little bit about Banner Bank. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rusty. Thanks, Rusty.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Can you guys all hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to get on this morning and say welcome and thank you all for participating in this awesome event. It's our pleasure to sponsor it. I don't know how much you know about Banner Bank. We've been around for a long time. We have over 100 branches. We are in 4 different states, which we have a little question and answer for you guys. But what we're about is community and our businesses. And so it's really important to us that if we have an opportunity to share information with businesses to help the small businesses in our communities, that we do that. And so we were very happy and actually honored that Raj asked if we could sponsor this. So I really appreciate all of your guys' hard work. And Caroline and Raj have been awesome to work with. I love that I see them in all the different communities that I'm in. So Caroline, were you going to put the question up? Or?
Yeah, Corey, can you put Rusty's poll up for everyone? We have something fun for you guys to engage with Banner Bank.
So as I said, Banner Bank is in 4 different states, and I just thought it would be fun to see if you guys knew which states we were in. So you have 3 options. There's Oregon, Washington, Utah, and Nevada, California, Idaho, Oregon, or Washington. And C is Oregon, Colorado, Washington, and California. So I think you were just going to have them pick.
Yep, people are filling it out right now.
Okay.
It looks like, I mean, it's pretty close across the board, but B is looking like the winner: California, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington.
Which is the winner.
Yay, awesome. So yeah. About 50% of the people picked the right one. So people know.
That's great. I know for myself, I was with Sayusla Bank for before we became Banner, and when Banner bought us, I had no idea who they were. So I'm very impressed that everybody knows, and we like that. So you guys have a great class today, and I'm anxious to hear the results at the end.
Great, thank you, Rusty. We really appreciate that Banner Bank cares about entrepreneurs and innovators.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the mentors. They've been engaging and interacting, and I encourage you to reach out to them. I'm not going to read them all to you. They are attending breakout sessions and open mentor hours, so please reach out to them and thank them for sharing their time and expertise with us. So next week, we have an awesome lineup for you. We've got, well, Rachel from Muse Marketing is going to talk about Digital Marketing 101, and I'm going to hand this over to Raj on the team real quickly because Raj's company actually works with Rachel, and he can talk a little bit more about what her session is going to entail. So Raj?
Sure, I'm really looking forward to this, everyone. Rachel brings a wealth of experience from a variety of backgrounds into her marketing consulting firm Muse, and I can say on a personal note, we've worked with her basically to build our marketing systems from ground up, beginning with a deep dive into our branding to understand what our mission vision is. We fleshed out our customer personas with her and then have moved through into working on basically anything tied to digital marketing, from email ad campaigns to Google ads and Facebook ads, which she won't cover because we have a separate session dedicated specifically to that. To social media, to influencer marketing, which is this interesting, tricky, evolving sphere. And what I really appreciate is that she's able to sort of connect anybody into her network of other marketing people. And I think you'll really find the content that she provides valuable. So that'll be next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Raj, for providing an overview. I'm looking forward to that session as well. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're in week 3. We've got really great programming coming up. You just heard about week 4, and I'm not going to read through these, but I do want you guys thinking about what you would like week 9 to look like. After week 5, Anna on our team is going to be sending out a survey to all of you, just sort of checking in on what's working, what are you getting out of this, what's missing, what changes would you like to see, is there a topic that you would like to hear more of, and then we're going to allow you to pick that based on what everybody decides, and then we're going to go find the experts to deliver that content. And all along, be thinking about, this is why the homework is important, to save that, because not only will it help you qualify for some of the prizes in the end, but also we're going to pull a bunch of really cool people together at the graduation, not just some potential investors, but also legislators and community leaders to hear your pitches. So be thinking about that. And then today, yours truly, I'm the one who's going to be speaking for you all today, which I'm really excited about. And I'm not going to read through my background. The only thing I do want to focus on is that I really love sales and marketing. I really enjoy it. And I've been fortunate to work with some really amazing people and also work on closing some significant deals. And, deals at the size of anywhere from 5K up to 1 million. And so I'm excited to be talking to you guys today about some of the tactics and strategies that are really foundational to doing these deals. Okay, so again, if you joined late and you didn't get to hear what I said in the beginning and you haven't already put your cohort number in front of your name, please do that. So put your cohort number and then your name, just like I've done here, to Caroline Cummings. That's gonna help Corey and Raj move you into the breakout sessions. Okay, with that, let's move into the main program. I'm going to be talking with you guys about, market sizing, market segments, market filters, how all of this, most people do this backwards. They come up with their revenue projections first. They're like, I'm going to hit $1 million in 3 years. And it's like, well, how do you know that? What are the numbers behind those numbers? What are the assumptions behind those numbers that are going to get you that growth that you want? And so we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that in some fun ways. First, though, I'd like to talk about what kind of business person you are. And there's really 5 different categories when we're talking about when you really care about growing your business and creating a value-added business, which I know all of you do because you're on this call. And there's 5 different categories. And this was something that an investor friend of mine did with me, an exercise where I said, hey, Mike, let's go into business together. And he was like, I don't have the stomach for startups. I'm more a grower exiter guy. He's like, I don't have really any creative ideas, or I don't invent things. I don't make things. I don't like the clean slate. I like to take a company from 1, 10, 15, 20 million to 100 million. And then I'd like to sell it or find a strategic partner. So let me explain a little bit about what these are. And then Corey's going to pop up a poll. And I want you to know that I don't want you to click more than 2 of these, because actually you could be really good at 2 or 3, but it's pretty impossible to be great and excellent at all 5 of these things. If you are, I definitely want to meet you. So an ideator, this is someone who has great ideas all the time. I fall in this category. I come up with a really interesting idea all the time, and then I get really angry a month later when someone launches it. I'm like, I thought of that. That was my idea, right? I'm always thinking of better ways to improve things, not just in business, but in life as well. So maybe that's you. A maker is basically, you're the inventor. You're the person, you can make things. You can make clothing. You can make a website. You can code. You can build a surfboard. You know how to actually build a thing. You can make cookies that, gluten-free, best gluten-free cookies in the world. So those are the people that are actually the innovator makers. And that's not me. And then there's starters. And starter is people like me who love clean slate, and everybody on my team. Like, you don't want a franchise. You want to be handed a clean slate. You want to determine who the markets are. You want to determine what the pain points are. You want to help build the right solution to solve that problem. And you're excited about the unknown in the future. Those are starters, right? And many of you fall in that category. And then growers, these are folks who like when someone's done all the stuff, they've done the ideating, the making, and the starting, like my friend Mike, who wants to actually take it, grow the company to the next level. And then there's the exiters. This could be selling a company, it could be repositioning a company, it could be a succession plan for a business, but helping whoever the owners, founders are, exit from that company. So with that, Corey, if you could put the poll up, and again, I don't want you to select more than 2 options. How would you categorize yourself? Okay. I'm not surprised by these results. I knew it was going to be heavier on the first 3. So it looks like we've got 63% ideators, 51% makers, 58% starters, 21% growers, and 1 exiter. Awesome. Great. Thank you guys for doing that. And what's important about the exercise is that you get permission to not have to be all of these things. However, your business, your organization, doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit, it doesn't matter if you're a small local business, it doesn't matter if you're a high growth tech startup company or whatever your business is, all of these roles are needed in your business at some point. And so know that this is a really good way to identify gaps on your management team, because you really should have somebody sitting in all of these seats. The exiter, maybe that's, you know, when you're ready for that, but certainly the first 4. So thanks for taking the time to do that. Okay, so this, I'd like you guys to use the chat here. Tell me, what movie is this from that we're looking at? Field of Dreams, you guys got it. Okay, so the next step with Field of Dreams is, what's sort of the mantra that came out of that? If you build it, they will come. Exactly. Now tell me, you guys, do you think that is a good strategy when you're building a new product or a service? Yep, you got it. Nope. You definitely want to be including your customers in your R&D process. Thank you guys for playing along with that. So now I want you guys to tell me what's wrong with this image based on what we just talked about. And if someone wants to raise their hand, you guys are welcome to do that as well. There's a bunch of you with your hands up. I don't know if it was from before, but Kira, did you want to share? Did you want to unmute yourself and share what you think is wrong with this picture?
Well, to me, what it says is that there's gaps. It's not complete. So you're not having a complete bridge between what you do and what your customer wants.
Yep, that's a really great observation. There's some gaps getting to the customer for sure. What else? Aida, did you want to unmute and share what you were thinking?
Oh, I'd raised my hand from before, but it looks like it's trying to be figured out as you go along. That's what I see in the picture.
Yep, exactly. They're trying to figure it out as they go. Some of the comments in the chat is it's building backwards. Adrian, you've got it right. You know, no planning, just creating. Exactly. And so you guys are on it. And so what's really important about what's wrong about this is all of these little people should be over on this little island with the customer. And this is not just for startups. This is for existing businesses. And right now, with COVID and us all having to sort of rethink what we're doing and pivot and think about, do we still have the same customer? Do we still have the right product that solves the pain point? Is that pain point even still existing? So no, yeah, again, no support's holding it up. That's also another one. So really want to be building the product over here on the side of the island where the customer is. So really important to always include your customers in your research and your development. And I have a quick poll that I want to ask you guys. Corey, can you pop that up? Who interviewed at least 3 customers or potential customers before you launched whatever your last product or service is? This is before, not after it's already launched. And it's okay if you haven't. All right, we've got results coming in. It's about 50-50. It's close. Okay, it's leaning more on the yes. So about 58% of you interviewed at least 3 customers before you launched your last product or service. So kudos to you guys. And 43% did not. I would love in the chat if you guys who didn't just post why you didn't. We're not going to call on you. I'm just curious about why you didn't, and others I'm sure are curious as well. So you know, it takes time, right? And you can't just interview 3, because if the 3 are only representing, say, one persona and you're trying to reach multiple personas, you really want to make sure that you're getting good information from a large enough amount of a group. And now with Zoom, you can interact with a lot of people, customers all over the world. There's tons of survey tools. There's polls in Facebook. I mean, there's so many different ways to gather feedback from customers. There's no reason why you shouldn't. And I also recommend that everybody actually take time to do a quick check-in with your customers or your potential customers and ask them if you're still relevant. And I think that one question alone is really powerful. Are you still relevant? Oregon Rain, we just did this with many of our city partners. We're like, are we still relevant? And not only are cities and counties saying yes, but many of them are giving us more money, saying we need you more now more than ever to help our businesses. Another thing you want to think about as you're starting to, not starting to, or revisiting whatever phase of your business that you're in, is it's really important to kind of own words in the mind of your consumer. And there's a study that's done every year, and it's usually done by newspapers, called TOMA, Top of Mind Awareness. And what they basically do is they send out a list of all different types of categories of things: salons, tree service, auto body shop, organic food. And they ask people who in their community they think which businesses own those words. And, it's a really hard thing to do, especially if you're in a crowded space. So you want to kind of think about what words you own. So this is obviously a BMW. Hopefully you guys can see that. There's really one word that this company owns. I'd love for you guys to post in the chat what word you think BMW owns in the mind of the consumer, and has for many, many, many years. Power, beamer, quality, ultimate, luxury, I'm wealthy, pretentious. I love it. Luxury. Okay, no one's getting it yet. Fast is getting kind of close. Sexy, I like that one. Anybody? Okay, now there's a word that BMW used to do an ad in very expensive magazines, and they would literally just show their car and put the ultimate driving machine. Yep, Marty's got it. Drive is the word that they own. Now, are there other cars that are incredible to drive? Yes, there's plenty other cars and brands that are incredible to drive. But for years, BMW has drilled it in our minds that if you want a driving experience, you want a BMW. So thank you guys for doing that. This one's much easier. What's the word Volvo owns and still owns? Yep, safe, safety, reliable, safety, safe. Yes. And they really drilled that into our minds. Now, are there other cars that are far more safe than Volvo? Today, there actually are. Technology has really improved, but Volvo still really owns this. I mean, I have friends back east who, they got married about 10 years ago. Before that, they were driving, Jeeps and sort of fun off-road vehicles, and they started to have kids. They're like, oh, we've got to buy a Volvo. We need something safe. So Volvo has done a really good job of positioning that. And some folks associate safety with Subaru. They've also done a really good job of doing that. And then Chanel, one of my favorite brands, they own a very important word in the mind of their consumers because they charge a lot of money. Somebody said smelly. Okay, beauty, chic. What else? Luxury. Nate, you hit the nail on the head. They really own the word luxury. And if anybody has never been in a Chanel store, if you're ever in a big city, I recommend you just sort of walk in to check it out because it smells like luxury. They treat you like it's this luxurious experience, and they need to because they're charging a premium for this. And Coco Chanel is pretty iconic. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, she was very innovative. She really made the suntan fashionable. She got women out of corsets and into more loose-fitting clothes. She was very disruptive for her time. And the fact that her brand still lives today beyond her is pretty awesome. Okay, so the next little fun exercise. This is always interesting, this one, based on your geography. What is the top of mind company that you think of when you think of home improvement? Post it in the chat, you guys. Home Depot, Lowe's, Home Depot, Lowe's, Home Depot, Lowe's, Home Depot, Lowe's. A couple of Jerry's in there. Okay, so for the folks who put Jerry's, are you from the Eugene Springfield area? Just throw in a yes or a no. Okay, most of you are. Okay, so here's what's really incredible, you guys. Anywhere in the world, in these TOMA studies, you ask people, not in the world, in the United States, if you ask people who owns home improvement, 99% of the people will say Home Depot or Lowe's. But in the Eugene Springfield area, it's the only city in the nation that gets Jerry's. And that's because Jerry's has done an incredible job of local branding. They've got billboards everywhere, better head for Jerry's if something breaks, if something goes on, better head for Jerry's. And they've done an incredible job. That's a difficult thing to do when you're competing with these multi-million, billion-dollar businesses, right? I mean, depending on the size and who else owns them, and I don't even know who owns them, but Jerry's is still local. And they show that it's possible to really knock a large business out from owning a word. Okay, so what I want you guys to think about for a moment here is, what 1 or 2 words do you want to own in the mind of the consumer? And you can talk more about this in your breakout sessions, but I'd love if you feel like you already own a word or 2 words in the mind of your consumer, post it in. Adventure, attitude, news, conscious, sustainable, live stream music, trust, connection. Awesome. So some of these, like words like trust and connection, these can be hard words to own, but if you're within a certain segment and quality, right? Like these can be words that are difficult to own. So you really have to be able to defend them through consistent target marketing, consistent interactivity. And it's really important that you're constantly reaching out to your consumer and finding out, especially right now, you want to go back to your customers and ask them what words. So when you're asking them, am I still relevant? Ask them what word or words they think of when they think of you, when they think of your business, when they think of whatever it is service that you're providing. Ask them. Yeah, child safety, local, regional, awesome, artisan. Great, thank you guys. And you really got to think about who you're selling to, and has that changed right now? And for a lot of us, it has. So you want to think about who it is. Who's your primary target market? Who's your secondary market? So a way to think about this in sort of more rudimentary terms is, who's like the primary market is this guy sitting up here. Who do you get the most money from? And then secondary is really who you get the second amount of money from. So if we think back to Jill, where Jill was talking about, you know, her primary market was who? You guys remember from that list? The industry list that she had put out there? Yes, legal, attorneys. And secondary markets were finance, real estate, and so forth. So they, after talking to Jill, most of their advertising and marketing dollars go into reaching that primary market, because they know they get the best conversions. They don't have to spend as much money, that $600. They can spend less to acquire the lawyers. So it's really important to know that. Okay, here's a fun exercise that we're going to do together. I want to talk with you guys about. You want to think about, and this is a fun thing to do with your team too. There's going to be market filters that you need to think about as you begin to revisit your your target markets, and this will help then drill down into segmentation under those markets. But we all have to think about these things when we think about who it is that we sell to, who we want to keep selling to, or who are new markets that we want to reach. And so things like gender, age, income, geography, what are their belief systems? Do they have any habits? Is there a certain shopping habit they have? Is there a career? Are you trying to target teachers? Are you only wanting to target homeowners, not people who rent, right? So these are really important things, because when you know these things, then you don't want to waste your time advertising or attending events where people are who don't meet these market filters. So for example, let's pretend we're all going to open up a organic local market. So what we would think about with market filters there, and again, there's research that you do. There's tons of free research online. Some of it's free. I know the small business development centers have incredible market research tools that you can get access to by, you can connect with Ann Whittington, who's on today, one of our mentors. But for our market filters for a local organic market is going to be, our primary market is women 25 to 55, college educated, they earn over 50K a year. They're really eco-conscious and they shop local and they listen to NPR. So we would probably want to run some ads on NPR. We probably want to appeal to the fact that the produce is local, right? Now, it doesn't mean that men aren't shopping there and kids aren't going in and, grabbing a pear and handing it to their mom. It doesn't mean that's not happening. Those things are happening. It's just that this is who most of their money comes from. So it's really helpful to have that information and revisit it. So I want you guys to just take a moment and think about, post in the chat what you think. You don't have to put 7, you could put 2, 3, 4, 5. Post in what you think some of your market filters are, and they might be things beyond what's on this list. So take some time to do that. Yes, and if you're selling B2B, there's going to be some different filters there as well. Exactly. Yeah, thanks, Wilson. There are prospecting databases. So let's go back. Yes, you guys want me to go back one slide. Why won't it let me go back? Let me go out of this for a second. That was weird. It won't let me go back. This one, right? Okay. Home buyers. Geography. And put in what the geography is. Like put in, yeah, exactly. Okay, men 45 to 65, career focused, active lifestyle, socially conscious. Good job, Nikki. Yes, women, organizations for Heather, medical professionals, high volume patient panels for Nate. That's awesome. Education, exactly. So these are things that you want to revisit on a regular basis to make sure that this is still true for you, especially right now. So that's something that you guys could work on in your breakout sessions a little bit more if you'd like as well. Great, yeah, Gen Z. Awesome, good job, you guys. So here's where you have to be like, okay, how do we know this to be true? We can trust our gut and say, this is who we believe our market segments are. This is who we believe the filters are that help us segment and create target marketing. But is this just sort of a, are you just looking through a crystal ball, or where, how do you know that to be true? And that's where you have to do the research and the follow-up, both with those customers and also online. And sometimes you have to pay for that data. Because is this still true during this current economic climate? And you really want to revisit everything in your business. Peter Drucker, very, very famous guru of strategy and business, and has been hired by many, many big businesses on helping strategize. He says that whenever there's something really successful that has happened in the market or detrimental that's happened in the market, it's time to reevaluate every single assumption that you have about your business. And that's kind of a scary prospect, but it's also a really good exercise and something that we should all be doing right now. I know we are at Oregon Rain. Okay, fun. So now we're gonna move into TAM, SAM, SOM. This is one of my favorite ways to do market sizing and come up with revenue projections. So let's sort of break these down and unpack them a little bit. TAM is your total available market. SAM is your segmented available market. And SOM is your share of the market. So TAM is basically the total possible demand for your market, either in your region or nationally or internationally, wherever, whatever the total possible demand could be for your product. And the SAM is who you can reach based on your business model, okay? So you may be able to reach every mom, like your demand for your product might be every mom in the world who has at least 2 kids and earns over $50,000 a year. However, you have limitations in your business model that you can't serve them. So that's going to be the segmented available market. And then the share of the market is who you can reach based on the practical limits of your business model. So maybe you only have a certain amount of money to do marketing and advertising. Maybe you can't produce enough widgets to serve your SAM. So it's going to be this share of the market, and that's really who you want to focus on. And then even within your share of the market, there are hyper target markets. There's some niche markets that you can carve out that you're going to really reach out to and get to know them and hopefully turn them into evangelists. So we're going to do a fun little exercise together. What I want you guys to do is we're going to pretend like we're all in a business and our customer are swordfish okay? So it's a little silly, but it's a really fun way to think about market segments. Okay, so, or market sizing. So all the swordfish in the ocean is who the total demand for our market, right? We're trying to reach all the swordfish in the ocean. Our SAM is all the swordfish that we can reach within casting range of this dock. So this dock over here on the left, this is basically our sales channel. This is where we're going to be able to acquire our customer, which in this case are swordfish. Okay, and by the way, you know, most of the world, you guys probably already know this, most of the earth is covered in water. 70-ish% of the earth is covered in water. Now, swordfish certainly aren't swimming in all of those waters, and oceans represent about 97% of that water mass. So there is a lot of swordfish out there. We're never going to be able to reach all of the swordfish, right? And then especially if we're only able to acquire those customers, swordfish, from this one dock, okay? Now, if we ended up having other sales channels, like maybe the boats that are out there, we hire them to bring in more swordfish, or we have different partners who can do that with us. But right now, we've got this one dock. And then if we start to think about our share of the market, that's all the swordfish that we can catch with the resources we currently have. So on our team, you guys, there's only 5 fishing rods. There's not enough bait to even work with 5 fishing rods. So we have limitations on the number of swordfish that we will actually be able to catch and bring on board. So this is just a fun little way of thinking about how you're going to segment your markets, and the size of those markets actually is more what I'm talking about here. Because I know you've heard, most of you have heard, everybody in my town is my customer. Everybody who eats organic food is my customer. Well, that's not true, because you have to think about those filters. Do they have the money? Do they have the values of that? Is that something they're going to prioritize? And so you have to do the same little exercise with yours. And who you intend your initial market to be may change over time, and probably will change over time. So you really have to be prepared to pivot to meet the demands in the market. And I think that one of the benefits of COVID is it's helping us realize how much we need to retest our assumptions and look at things again. So one organization rather, who has had to evolve their target markets is Facebook over time. So this is going to be another exercise I want you guys to post in the chat. Who, or you can even unmute yourself if you want. Who was Facebook's initial target market?
College students.
College students, I want you to get a little more niche than that. College boys, Harvard.
Harvard college students. Single college students.
Single college students. Okay, whoever said Harvard got it right. So it's Harvard, Stanford, right? So that was the original target market. The second was other universities and colleges. What about the third? Now, again, it's funny because I've heard interviews and they never really intended for this market evolution to happen in such a way. So it's kind of interesting how a customer base can sort of determine how to use your product. So who was the third market? This one's a little bit harder.
Single boys, single
people. No, but the boys part is right. That word is starting to get teenagers. Yeah. So, 14 to actually 34 they stole the mind share away from MySpace at that time. That was, MySpace was really, really popular. And then all of a sudden they stole the 14 to 34-year-olds over to Facebook. And then the fourth market. Anybody want to take a stab at that? 35 plus, moms, women. Okay, the fourth was actually businesses. This is when they started to actually have a revenue model, and they started to do some advertising and have analytics and have their FBX platform where businesses can actually start to make money on there. So those were the first 4. But what's the fastest growing demographic on Facebook, and has been for years, for the last several years anyway? 55 plus, 50 plus, but what gender? Somebody says old people. Female, boomers, right? Women 65 and over, and in particular, women who have influence and spending power. So if any of you have a product or service that you're trying to reach this demographic, you certainly want to be placing ads on Facebook. You want to be engaging. You want to have a group. You want to be in conversations. You want to be joining the other groups and pages that these women are on, because they are on and they are engaging. Very different from, Stanford, Harvard college students back in the beginning when they first launched. So not everybody's markets evolve as quickly as Facebook's has, but it's a really good exercise in thinking about how maybe a year from now, 2, 5, 10 years from now, you might be serving a different market. Okay, so we're going to move into the last part of this section, and I think this part's really fun. We're going to pretend that we all own a hair salon together. And I'm going to transition over into the Tam Sam Sam worksheet that I just love and have so much fun using. And we're going to open up a hair salon. And I want you guys to tell me, I was originally going to select a city in the population, but I want you guys to do that. So throw up a Oregon city that you want us to open this hair salon in Corvallis. Okay, tell me the, Corvallis was first to hit. So tell me about the population of Corvallis. Does anybody know? 55K, 60K? Okay, let's put 55,000 in here. So here's what I want you guys to realize. Let me walk you through this spreadsheet first before I plug the number in. TAM, SAM, and SOM is in here. And then at the bottom, we're going to start to identify how many customers we're going to serve. These annual sales projections will be filled, but it's based on these, actually, this is sales assumptions. Let me change that word. So these are your assumptions that we're going to get about $65 on average per sale per customer visit. We're assuming that these customers are going to come into our salon 6 times a year. Granted, there's going to be some who come 1, there's going to be some who come 12 or more, but on average, it's 6. And again, this is from some research. And then, therefore, the formula put in here is that 65 times 6, the average revenue per customer per year is just a little under $400. So that's a pretty, those are some pretty simple assumptions. And this spreadsheet is in your homework folder. Someone's saying they couldn't download it. And, oh yeah, and you will be able to download it. Great. Thanks, Corey, for posting that in there. Okay, now one of the things you will have to do is column B is going to take some research, as is the total population, right? But column B, these are percentages that will change based on your ability to either serve customers or the limitations of those filters that you have, okay? So first, let's plug in the 55,000. All right, everything immediately gets populated. Now we need to go back and look at projections, but if we just scroll down to the bottom, the revenue projections for year 1 is going to be 265,000, 371, 583. What's not calculated in these projections, you guys, is churn rate. What I mean by churn is that you're not going to keep all of these customers from year 1 and year 2. You may lose 5 or 10% of them. And I'm going to add that churn rate into the template so that you guys can use it. But this was more meant to just do a quick back of the napkin. Is there a there? Can I make money with this business? And can you continue to make money for the existing businesses? So let's go back to the top. So we put in, we're serving Corvallis, Oregon. Okay. Now, again, we can find this information out through research, but for fun, for now, we're going to change these percentages. What percentage, I want you guys to help me, I trust your guts on this, do you think of the 55,000 are over the age of 18 in Corvallis? What's the percentage? Just sort of gut check. 80%, who else? 60%, anybody else? 65. Okay, let's throw in 62% are over the age of 18. Now, what percent do you think earn more than 30,000 a year out of that demographic over the age of 18? 25, 35, 50, 85, some very different ones. Okay, we're gonna kind of go right in the middle with 35, we'll hit 35. 35,000. So we're now down to, our market size is now down from 55,000 to almost 12,000. So now that's our total demand for the salon. You also have to count for, there's other salons that you're competing with, right? So now we're gonna sort of break that down even more. So now your SAM. So this is that your critical business model can target. Out of these 12,000 people, how many do you think that you can realistically serve over time, right? So just think in terms of 3 years from now. What percentage of that 12,000? Now at 40%, that puts us at almost 5,000 people coming into our salon a year. So we got 50, 30%, 25, 10, probably 20. Okay, let's go 15. And that brings it down to about 1,800, a little under 1,800 people. And just to kind of check, and we should change this to Corvallis. Change this one to Corvallis. All right, so essentially that's only 3.3% of the total Corvallis population, okay? So not too bad. And then SOM, our share of the market. So realistically, you guys, How many what's the percentage of that 1,790 do you think we can realistically reach in the first few years? Because maybe in the salon, there's only 3 of us actually working. Yes, you do have to consider how large the salon is and those kinds of things. But for a quick exercise here, we're just going to assume, let's say we have 5 of us in the salon working. What percentage of that 1,790 do you think we can serve who isn't already being served by another salon somewhere else in town? 10, 20, 2, 20. Okay, let's go 12. Because we can go back and adjust these numbers based on what we see at the bottom here. So now it's less than half of the total Corvallis population that we're trying to reach, okay? And if we come down and we say we can serve 25% of that 215 in year 1, that's only 54 clients. And second year is 75 clients. And then the third year, we're up to 118 clients. So if we go over here and we look at our annual sales projections, it's not looking so good, you guys. That's not enough. So we need to be able to somehow increase some of these percentages. So if we make this 30%, the numbers increase. Now, again, you have to think about your costs. You have to think about, your rent and so forth. With salons, we can rent out chairs to other people. So we're not having to spend their marketing dollars necessarily. But this is a very quick and easy way of doing some market sizing and just sort of back of the napkin to determine, is there a there? Is our business model relevant? And again, you can change this not just based on population, but if there are 2 million women online in the Pacific Northwest who are working, trying to hire services for childcare, then you can change the number based on whatever sort of that segment is. And you'll probably have to do this a couple of times with different segments. Okay. And so this is just a really quick and easy way for you guys to think through thank you, Trish, for putting those up, the definitions again on those. Okay. So just checking in, does that make sense, you guys? Is that helpful? Is that a really fun and easy way to come up with some annual sales projections? Great. Okay, and again, you guys, you have these slides back in your folder, and I just kind of want to pause and show you. Yeah, you're welcome, Kelly. I want to show you where your homework is. If you forget how to get to this folder, Corey has created a link for us. So you go to OregonRain.org/RAINmaker/resources, okay? So that's a shortcut. It's kind of a little long, but it's easy for me to remember how to get there. OregonRain.org/Rainmaker/resources. We also include the link in all of the emails. This is going to take you to your folder where you have all of the weeks listed. These week folders is not where you put your homework. You're going to submit your homework in the top one. But if you want to access the spreadsheet from today, you go into week 3, you click on that. There's an Excel spreadsheet. You can just download it in there, and then we can go back, and you want to go back into your submit homework here and go into week 3, and that's where you're going to upload your homework and put it in there. We made it pretty simple for you, and thank you, Ariel, for putting the link in. You're welcome, Amy and Kira. Okay, great. So let's take some time and like maybe 5 minutes to do some questions, and then we're going to put you guys in your breakout rooms to have further discussion. But I want to just pause for a minute and see if there's any questions specifically for me. Stacy, the link is right above Ariel just posted it in there. OregonRain.org/Rainmaker/resources. How to do this? Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure. Who is that?
It's Melissa Bird and Jim Kelly.
Oh, hey, Melissa and Jim. How are you guys?
Hey, good. How are you?
Great.
So one of the things that we're really struggling with, so for the purposes of the Accelerator, we're focusing on the aquaculture farm piece. So we have a retreat center and an aquaculture farm. And so we're really focusing on the aquaculture piece because We've really drilled down the retreat center piece of this. And so one of the struggles we're having is identifying, when we're talking about our customers, are we talking about the buyers for the grocery store, or are we talking about the customers? Because we're not going to be we're going to be distributing the fish. We're not going to be directly selling it from the farm.
Who's going to pay you money?
The market of choice in Whole Foods.
Okay, so that's who your primary market is. But in food, it's interesting, you know, you end up having to still market to consumers sometimes. And like, especially if you're in big grocery stores, they have marketing packages. So is there anybody else on who's currently selling a food product in a grocery store? I know, Raj, you are. If you want to chime in on this one, that would be great.
Sure, yeah, and we've done it both ways, Melissa. We've done it both as kind of doing this exercise, looking at just, say, the grocery stores. And then we've also done it like nationally, looking at just the end consumers and saying, you know, my company is a tea company. So we've said, okay, how many tea drinkers are there? How many tea drinkers are specialty tea? How many are specialty tea on the West Coast, which is our geographic region, kind of work down from there. And that's helpful for online orientation of sales. But if you are focused exclusively on the grocery store segment, I would think that that would make sense to use their number, number of stores. And then some of those assumptions down below around like how much per sale you might make would help to kind of flesh out the bigger numbers. So you're not just looking at like 2 stores and assuming that that's enough. Does that help make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys for asking the question. So Samantha, you're asking about the $600 max customer acquisition spend in the beginning. That's just specific to Ruby. That's what they have figured out. Their customer acquisition cost cannot go over. Depending on your business, that number will vary. It could be $1, it could be $10,000, depending on the pricing of your product and whether or not you have recurring revenue that can validate larger customer acquisition costs. The worst thing is if it costs Ruby $600 to acquire a customer and they only ever make $300 off of that customer, that's not good, right? So they know they're very sophisticated with their analytics. They know that if they spend $600, they're going to be extremely profitable from that, but they don't want to go over that amount. Okay, because of the time, guys, of where we are, I want to make sure that we have time. We want questions to keep coming. Corey, can you put us all in our breakout rooms and we'll keep this conversation going for the next 20 minutes? Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
I look forward to seeing you all shortly. We are back. Welcome back, everybody.
So I'll put something together.
And if you guys are not speaking, if you don't mind muting yourself, because I think when you come back in, some people are muted and some people are not muted. I do want to say, Tanya, in my group, let's follow up and have a conversation since we got cut off there. Okay, so back in, hopefully you guys had some lively conversations and some great interactions. I know we did in our group and was facilitating some of the question inquiry part. There were some awesome questions that people are thinking about. That was a really good exercise. So thank you guys for doing that. As we're moving towards wrapping up, hopefully you guys are going to help keep this conversation going and join some of our open mentor hours that we have Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays that you can see on here. Again, if you don't have them in your calendar already, please let us know and we'll make sure you get added to those.
Caroline, we're not seeing your screen right now.
Oh, you're not seeing my screen. Thanks for the heads up on that.
Yep.
All right, let me share that. I was in my own private world there. It was fun for a minute. Okay, so these are the office hours that I was talking about earlier. Please, everybody, commit to attending at least one between now and the next session. We're starting to get into the nitty-gritty right now, you guys. We're drilling down even more. And this is where, the details, everything's in the details here, where it's, you want to make sure you have the right markets, the right segmentations, the right filters, you have the right sizing. If you want to test and do some, we were talking about testing Facebook ads, or you can pretty much hyper-target market in Facebook, and they'll tell you what the market sizing is before you even place the ad, and you can take $50 or $100 and just kind of test it out. And you could do that, share the screen. You can share the screen with us and we can walk you through it. So let us know if you want to do that. Again, many of you are engaging on Slack. Keep doing that. And by all means, you can answer questions from other folks, because all of us are experts in our own right from our own different areas. As Raj talked about earlier, next week we're going to dig a little bit deeper into digital marketing. So hopefully now you have a better sense of who you're targeting, and now you want to sort of start implementing some strategies for those. And then that's it, you guys. We're going to hang on. Some of the mentors and my team are going to hang back so that we can continue the conversation for like another 15-ish minutes or so. So for those of you who want to sign off, you can sign off now. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the session. Hopefully you got something out of it. I always enjoy talking about Tam Sam Sam. So please stay behind if you want to chat. So we'll give it a minute for folks to drop off who want to drop off, and look forward to seeing you all next week.